Today's episode of Episcopal 101 is a continuation of the first season's video on the Holy Eucharist and how the Episcopal Church approaches the central act of our weekly Sunday worship services. If you'd like to know more of our theology of Eucharist as a sacrament, please watch the original video first, as this episode is going to look at one specific element of our practice of communion, the intimacy of sharing a meal with no barriers. The Episcopal Church, and my parish of St. Stephen's in particular, is a reconciling, affirming, and inclusive body of Christian communities that strive through worship, love, and service to welcome all people just as God created you. No matter where you are on your journey of faith, and whether you are single, married, divorced, separated, or partnered, the welcome in our churches knows no boundaries of age, race, ethnicity, culture, political affiliation, gender, sexual orientation, economic condition, physical or mental ability. We believe that God delights in the diversity of creation, and so do we. And nowhere is this delight and sense of welcome more evident than the altar rail at communion. For it is at that place that no barriers exist between neighbors and between the individual and God. We all share from the one body, each receiving communion from the priest. We all share from the one cup, each sipping from a vessel that our neighbors have also sipped from. This shared experience of bread, and especially the cup, fosters a deep sense of intimacy and connection, not just with Christ and God, but with one another in our community. Sharing a meal with one another, and with another person in particular, is one of the more intimate acts that we offer in our society. And when we share that meal with family, friends, strangers, the homeless gentleman who comes to worship each week, the toddler who's learning how to participate and hopefully not mixing their communion bread with the wine, that one person who really grates on your nerves, or the surprising face in the pews that you know from elsewhere, but are seeing at church for the first time. We are stripped of every label and pretense that society would otherwise place upon us, and simply exist as siblings in Christ who come together to share in one bread, one cup. This act of intimacy with one another and with God opens our hearts to seeing our neighbor in a new light. This act of intimacy with one another and with God opens our hearts to seeing our own faults and judgments, opening us up to building connection and relationship with those we avoid for whatever reason. It is from this simple yet intimate act of sharing this meal with one another that the rest of work together as followers of Christ launches off from. For this meal provides us with the sustenance of Christ, the reassurance of our faith, and the knowledge that there are so many others in this work together with us. People who come from all walks of life, people who have a whole wealth of knowledge and experience, people who have enthusiasm and excitement to engage in our work together. For we all follow the same Christ, who has shown us the ideal of community when we come to this feast together to share in this intimate meal that knows no barriers, no boundary walls, no admittance fee, except to believe in Christ, and to believe that together in community with one another, we can do the work that has been laid before us by Him as we walk together in the way of love. So, you are invited to come to the feast and join us in sharing in a meal that welcomes all, no questions asked.